in the dizzying, dimension-defying throne room of Alindra, constructed from materials that technically didn't exist, making cleaning an absolute nightmare. Chancellor Theoris waited. The silence was heavy, pressurized. Queen Veora stood transfixed by the genealogical hologram, a cascading river of star blood stretching back 6 millennia, pulsing with the soft blue light of history. The news Theoris bore was a silence breaker, a hammer to glass. Princess Solari's reproductive odds were calculated at exactly 0.3%. The queen's skin, typically holding the pale luminescence of moonlight on water, dulled to gray. Yet, in the face of such devastation, she found a grim, jagged humor. "So, there's a chance?" she quipped. It was the joke of a woman watching her lineage extinguish. Theorists, projecting dizzying biological schematics, explained the quantum incompatibility, the cruel geometry preventing conception, but Veora's mind drifted to a boring symposium on Kepler 442b, recalling a passionate human scientist who argued that life finds a way when imagination fails. She ordered his file immediately. In the grand tapestry of fate, desperation often looks like madness until the moment it works. On a frozen station orbiting Europa, Aaron Salith was arguing with a bacterium about its stubborn refusal to dissolve when the Alindran ship appeared. A piece of jewelry dreamed into the void, bending light until eyes watered. They sought him not for his politics, but for his understanding of the poetry of incompatible life. When asked by the tall, luminous emissaries how he would solve a biological paradox where reproduction was impossible, Aaron didn't blink. "I wouldn't solve it," he said, thinking of microbes thriving in poison. "I'd change the conditions until it solved itself." That simple, defiant answer bought him a one-way ticket to a world of six-dimensional architecture and a marriage arranged by cold calculus. The wedding planner nearly imploded over Aaron's tuxedo, a void of meaning in a culture of refracted light. But Aaron held his ground. In the palace gardens, amidst plants growing on mathematical principles, he found Solari. She was speaking to the flora, a princess who felt the weight of being a broken equation. They were two lonely variables in a grand experiment. The ceremony in the Hall of Perpetual Harmonies was a blur of awkward terror, culminating in Solari not speaking vows, but humming a frequency that vibrated in Aaron's chest, a sound of raw, unpolished humanity. The reception was worse, filled with condescending nobles sneering at the primitive human who couldn't see colors on skin. But when Solari shattered her glass and laughed, a sound like wind chimes falling downstairs, the pretense broke. In that moment of undignified joy, amidst the wreckage of tradition, the experiment became a marriage. 3 years faded into the haze of Thurin IV, a moon of gas giants and exiles. They lived in the silence of the Queen's disappointment. Dr. Zix, a three-eyed Kaltorian with the bedside manner of an annoyed rock, mended their equipment and critiqued their lives. Solari suffered nightmares of being empty, her bioluminescence flashing like a distressed lighthouse, dreaming of the emptiness she was told defined her. In their garden, under the light of a distant sun, Aaron held her hand. He reminded her they weren't failures just because they didn't meet a queen's expectations. They had built a life of Xenobot art and disaster movies. They were happy. And then the universe blinked. Solari collapsed. Zix, staring at his scanners with 3 incredulous eyes, announced the absurdity. She was pregnant. Twins. Biology, it seemed, was taking suggestions from narrative convenience. The pregnancy was a chaotic mix of cravings for crystallized light and skin flickering in Fibonacci sequences. Zix grumbled about rewriting textbooks, while Aaron read human sci-fi to a bedridden princess who critiqued the physics. When the time came, the twins arrived with a defiance that shattered medical probability. Lisa, with her mother's ears. Tevin, with his father's eyes. They were viable. They were perfect. And looking at them, Solari knew the exile had to end. Her mother needed to know that the zero had become 2. They returned to Alindra, Zix tagging along for the academic glory and the papers he would write. The ship descended through the atmosphere of a world that had rejected them, landing in silence. They walked into the palace not as supplicants, but as parents, holding hands that had weathered the void. Queen Viora waited in a private room, her back turned, a figure etched in regret. When she finally faced them, she saw the impossible made flesh. Tevin spoke first, noting their matching ears with the blunt, disarming honesty of a child. Lisa asked if she was really a queen. The formality disintegrated. Viora knelt, her royal composure cracking as she touched the children's faces, weeping tears of light. She confessed she had sent them away to fail where she wouldn't have to watch. "You did lose us," Aaron said gently. "We built a life where we weren't trying to solve your problem. We were just trying to live." Viora pulled her grandchildren close, terrified they might dissolve like a dream. Later, on a balcony overlooking the spiraling city, she thanked Aaron. She admitted that what they had built, this chaotic, impossible family, wasn't what she planned. "No," Aaron agreed, watching the stars. "It's better." And for the first time, the Queen's smile reached her eyes.